I'll start. I mean, I think all the people in the state and around the country were shocked and outraged by the killing of Renee Good, an ICE agent who aimed right into the open window, and she was killed. You know, the investigation's ongoing. I hope it's an honest and fair investigation so we can get to the bottom of it. I think you saw some folks in Hartford yesterday and around the state and around the country who mainly had a peaceful vigil in memory of that woman and tragedy that she went through. There was an altercation back behind the immigration courthouse, and we're looking into that right now to see what that was. But I don't want that to distract from the pain and the violence that you saw in Minneapolis at the expense of that poor young mother.
Can you talk a little bit about that, and would that make any difference going forward, considering what happened in Minneapolis?
Well, look, I'm not sure that any laws would have prevented what happened in Minneapolis. Susan and I did, help take the lead in terms of the Trust Act, doing more we could to protect people going to the courthouse, making sure that ICE agents can't go in there and arrest people with just a detainer, can't go in there wearing a mask. I'm doing everything I can to make people feel safe. So when you go to a courthouse, you go to a Wilbercross High School here, you go to the hospital, I want you to know that you can do that safely if you're following the law.
Do you believe the state used federal? Do you believe your state troopers, your prosecutors have any role to play in investigating what happened in Hartford last night?
I hope they do. I mean, this is the state of Connecticut, and I think they ought to look into this and see what happened in the case of Hartford and what happened in the case of Minneapolis. Look, the federal state jurisdiction over ICE agents, people will figure that out. But I think it's really important that we investigate and get to the bottom of it.
What's your understanding of the authorities that you as the state have to investigate the on-duty ICE agents?
And to work with Hartford police, state police, and federal agencies to learn the truth. And I'll just say that Renee Good's death was a murder. Here you have a young mom who was killed, and I think what the governor and I believe very strongly in is the right to peacefully protest. And what is very scary is the empowering of violence and outbreaks of violence that we are seeing in the aftermath of what happened to Renee Good. And what the governor and I want to say to the people of Connecticut is, please protest peacefully, do it in a peaceful way, because that is the cornerstone of our democracy, and we want to protect that.
The administration itself not to have necessarily the training on crowd control in this type of event. So has the incident outside the federal courthouse in Hartford prompted any of those conversations?
I think there's really a lack of training when it comes to the ICE. A lot of these people are just hired by a county. I don't know what training they have. It does make me anxious. I know that Commissioner Higgins has had conversations and ongoing relationship with the DEA, FBI, and ICE, especially related to serious criminals.
Do you see any parallels between then and now?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, we should be focused on the violence in Minneapolis and what happened to Renee Good. And we've had 5 questions about a small incident behind the courthouse in Hartford. I think it's a distraction. And it's those small incidents behind the courthouse in Hartford that ends up on Fox News and saying there's a problem on both sides of the equation. I think that's wrong. What we found, George Floyd, is our state police and municipal police handled things really well. Our protesters, as Susan said, they protested peacefully. They did not distract from what we thought was an outrage in George Floyd's case. And I don't want to distract from an outrage, but I think in the Renee Good case.
And I would just also add to what the governor is saying is we have seen over the past year a huge number of very large rallies and protests at our state capitol and at venues around the state that have been very peaceful without any incident. We endorse that. We want to keep that going.
So basically you're saying people should not be discouraged from protesting?
They should not. They should not. It is the cornerstone of everything that we fought for, our civil rights and freedoms in our country, even in the state.
There's a point, though, between Minnesota and Connecticut Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison have more explicitly asserted this. Are you asserting some state authority, either through criminal investigation or prosecution, to go after, to prosecute and investigate federal agents? Is that what you're asserting right now?
I'm certainly asserting the right to investigate what happened. And I know that Arunan's doing that. I'd like to think that our state police and municipal police are doing that, see what happened at that incident, and see how much discretion we have to hold people accountable. I think here in the state of Connecticut, we ought to have the ability to hold people accountable if we think they broke our law.
Last question. Your response to Representative Candelaro's statement that that your comments would only inflame the situation?
I think just the opposite. I think ICE agents coming in with masks or pouring gasoline on the flames and making the situation a lot more toxic. We're trying to lower the temperature, but as Susie said, people have the right to peacefully protest.
All right.
Thanks everybody.